All right, everybody, super pumped to bring you another awesome episode of Angles. This time I had the pleasure of sitting down with Jeremy Van Antwerp, aka Chef Redbeard. Unbelievable guy. I mean, I've had firsthand experience being at his studio, having the private chef experience, but he's such a down-to-earth dude, really humble. You could tell like he just is really, really passionate about what he does and what he wants to bring or is bringing here to Buffalo. Awesome episode where we talked about kind of how he got to where he is, what forced him to start his own business, what his plans are for his business, and kind of everything that makes him tick. He's just a super interesting guy. I know you guys are really going to enjoy this. So check it out. And as always, last but not least, proud to bring you this episode from Richmond Vona Personal Injury Attorneys. Again, I get it. It's my business, but we wouldn't be able to do this without their support. So thank you to everybody at the firm, and check out this episode. You're going to like it. All right, thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I had the pleasure of meeting you over at Kitchen Studio. What was it, like 2 weeks ago we came in?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Friday. Yeah, we brought the attorneys in, and it was amazing. I have to give a shout out too to Andrea Gladhill, one of my teammates at the firm. I know you guys go way back. She actually was showing me a picture of you earlier today.
Oh, it's embarrassing if you go too far back.
That's what makes it fun. She was telling me like a long time ago I had to get you on, so pumped to have you here. And I obviously do research on everybody before they come in, but I was thinking about this. I'm like, it's pretty wild that you're at the level that you're at, and it sounds like if I'm correct that you're totally self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through that? Like, how did you like make your way to where you are now? I mean, I think it's interesting for people, especially who want to get into the space, who feel like maybe they need some sort of traditional training.
Well, I feel like, when you just like with any career, there is like a very traditional path that you can go. And for cooking, it's, go to culinary school and work in restaurants and then kind of work your way up. But as a kid, my mom, she was a server and diner cook my whole life, and was one of those things where I knew that just because you went to school, it wasn't a guarantee that you were going to be, this big hotshot somewhere. It was more about what you brought to the table. And anytime I was in a kitchen, I always felt more comfortable learning from someone and like, show me exactly what you want. And so like learning was always, it's there. You just got to pick up on it. And every time I talked to someone that went to culinary school, it like detracted me from wanting to go even more, because it was like, it sounded like you went into the military, but instead of polishing a gun, you were peeling carrots. And it's like, well, I'm a peaceful carrot peeler. I don't want to feel nervous.
Yeah.
And so like, I think for me, it was more like, all right, well, why do restaurants fail? It's because of business. Like they don't know how to run a business or something. So like I thought of it as, I should learn how to manage people and run a business, and the cooking can come next.
That's smart.
And, as you're working in kitchens, it's just you get better. You're going to mess up a whole bunch in the beginning, but I wasn't scared of messing up because I didn't have a grade attached to it. It was just like, if I wanted to try something out, I just did it. And you get some duds, don't get me wrong, but when you get something right and you taught it to yourself, it's a little more satisfying, and then you kind of pick up on it. And then once books are out there, the internet's out there, YouTube, Gordon Ramsay, all those people, like they worked under people, but what's working under people? Watching what they do.
Right.
So the internet age has allowed you to shadow without actually physically being there.
Yeah.
And I think, just putting yourself in that mindset of like, well, what are they doing in their kitchens that I'm not doing? I'm just going to do that now.
Yeah.
And then no one tells you no, as long as the food's good.
Yeah.
That's the end result. As long as the food's good, most restaurants let you do whatever you want.
Right.
And, after a while, you kind of learn the ebbs and flows of managing people, but it's a business, and food's, I feel like, a very hard thing to make money on because it's perishable.
Yeah. So
like learning a respect of what you're handling is much more important than what you can, what you've learned you can do with it. It's like, there's so many different stages a vegetable can be used. What's the best use? And it's not just, center of the plate, expensive steak cuts. It's, all right, well, how do I make this simple vegetable make me $20?
Yeah.
Because if a steak costs $20 to put on the plate, you now have to sell a $100 plate to make something on it.
Right.
Whereas a vegetable, if you learn how to make a vegetable really nice, a $10 plate is a much easier ask for someone. And if you can, make more money at a $10 plate, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually really interesting. So I feel like most people will, okay, take myself, right? You learn to be a lawyer. Either the whole time, but usually it's like you learn to be a lawyer, then you figure out after practicing, oh, I want to start my own firm or my own business, whatever. And then you're essentially just like, you just start the business and you're learning on the fly. I think no matter what, you're learning on the fly when you start your own thing. That's interesting though. So you went to business, or you like studied business first. You were like kind of simultaneously learning how to cook through this, but like just kind of setting yourself up in like reverse order to like how to run the business, and then you're going to learn how to like become like an amazing chef.
Mm-hmm. Well, because like when you start working in restaurants, you kind of, you realize that everything comes from like, unless there's a bar, like that's technically how most places stay afloat.
Right.
But no one just goes to a spot specifically for the bar all the time. And if
Right.
it is, that's a completely different spot.
Yeah.
So for a food, it's like no matter how good your food is, you still have to make money on it.
You're right.
And one of the things like working in kitchens, you realize that it's like, oh, well, if the kitchen's not running right, it doesn't matter how good your bar program is or how nice your servers are or how nice the design of the dining room is. If the food's not there, no one's ever coming back.
Yep.
So like learning just, how to put out good food.
Yeah.
It seems like too simplistic, but at the end of the day, that's all it is just good food. Like people get caught up on being the best. Oh, I want to make the best of this. And it's like, how about you just concentrate on making it good every time?
Yeah.
And then eventually that's how you become the best, is by doing it good all the time.
Consistency is huge.
But if you think you're just going to be the best at it right away, then, there's a terrible learning curve when it comes to cooking.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like cooking's one of those things where like it's very intimidating to me. I think it is to a lot of people, and maybe that's one of the reasons why, people are so blown away when they eat something prepared by someone like yourself. Like, I mean, look, I'm being honest. Like when we were at your in your spot a couple of weeks ago, people were like blown away by it. I mean, for a million reasons, but I think, it seems very complicated to people like us. Did it seem like that to you early on, or was it just like you were so curious about it? You're like, I don't care how difficult this may be. I'm just going to keep chipping away at it.
I mean, I think how difficult cooking is what draws people into cooking.
Okay, yeah.
Because if it's easy. Certain things are very easy, but then once you start scaling it up, like cooking for yourself is very easy to learn because you're only doing enough food for one.
Right.
But like once you start scaling and you start seeing that even the most simplest tasks become outrageously difficult, once you start, adding on, 100 portions or so.
Right.
So like, I think that's to me was the intimidating. And even to this day, like, I mean, if you go to our spot on the window, it says small parties.
Yeah.
And it's not just private parties, small parties.
Yeah.
And that's because like, I felt like any time that I failed at cooking was because I guessed wrong on how far I could stretch something.
Yeah.
Or, my math was wrong on the calculation. It's like, oh man, I didn't get, that much out of it and I needed to. And it's like, oh, well, for 20 people, you just cook an amount and somehow it ends up.
Yeah. That's wild. When you were like, so I know you said you worked in kitchens. Were there certain people or certain places you worked that maybe helped you more than other places where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm like getting my stride here, or I'm thankful to have this experience with this person or at this place?
I would say early on, I learned more about like what not to do in kitchens.
Yeah, I get that. Like I think about that all the time. Like learning from other places I've been, like you learn more about like, hey, don't do this.
Yeah, once you kind of see how bad something could be.
Yeah.
You realize like, oh, I just don't do that, and we're gravy.
Yeah.
I would say like my first W-2 cooking job, so to speak, was actually where I met Andrea for the first time at the Sterling Renaissance Festival.
Oh, no kidding.
At the turkey leg booth.
That's awesome.
And that spot, they only sold turkey legs, so you were coming in and roasting turkey legs and holding them in these. They're called Alto shams, so just big ovens that hold temperature, and then the sauce was Cattleman's Barbecue and Frank's Red Hot in equal ratio. And you just dipped
good.
it, and that's the turkey leg. So from start to finish was super simple. But when you're cooking 1,500 to 3,000 turkey legs, that's when it's like, oh, so like, oh, how I lay out this pan actually matters, because if I can get 12 per tray, I can do one less tray per oven, and and it's like little tiny things like that are kind of that little nuggets of knowledge you learn along the way, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, that was just turkey legs, but now I'm very comfortable with learning and putting things in ovens and knowing I can like get the perfect result, because it started off as simple as just turkey legs.
Yeah. Are you, I mean, like, I hear you, like, I may be like wrong, but like, I mean, it sounds like there's math and like all these things going into like this preparation, especially when you're cooking for, you know, like even if it's a smaller group, like 5, 8, 10 people, like how do you, what's your process? How do you make sure that you get it right every time? Or is it now at a point where like, you just know, like you have like the gut feeling?
I would definitely say I'm an intuitive cook for sure.
Yeah.
Like there are measurements that I use, but for the most part, like I don't ever follow an exact recipe unless it's a baking thing. I never follow a recipe when I'm cooking. It's just like, oh, I know this thing and I'm going to make it. And, you know, it's like, oh, how many potatoes do I need? It's like, well, what's the size of the potatoes?
Yeah.
Like if I say 12 potatoes and you get all small baby potatoes, then the recipe's flawed.
Yeah.
So like I learn kind of more by doing than, you know, doing the other way around,
Right.
which was like, oh, so I need 12 portions at 4 ounces each, which means I need that much. It was like, one potato per person and then 4 extra, because what if I drop some, you know? Like, So I'm more of like that type of cook.
Yeah.
But I think because that's how I approach most things, like I'm not overthinking.
Right.
And a lot of the times when you look at recipes, you kind of can tell that like, oh, someone wrote this recipe just for the sake of, I could write 20 recipes right here.
Yeah.
But like, as you're reading it or looking at it, it's like, that seems like a lot of that, or that doesn't seem like not enough, or it's one of those things where like once you kind of learn food, it's like you look at food completely different, and you can't learn that except by doing it.
Right. How do you so what goes into like preparing a new dish? Like are you like you wake up in the middle of the night, or like you're hanging around at home and you're like, oh, I got this idea, or you get some inspiration somehow, and then do you like test it out on people, or like how does that work? You test it on yourself?
I would say I'm more of like an evolving dish.
Okay.
So it's more like there's certain components that you can work on a lot of other dishes that make, you know, a whole complete dish, but it's like made up of components that you've been working on independently. So it's like, you know, if you make one type of sauce or marinade for one thing, and you're like, oh, that's really nice, I really like that, I can apply that to this one and get relatively the same result and same flavors, and I just kind of like had a twofer. But then it's like every time I do a dish, and I think this was where I always kind of, in some restaurants, when you have a set menu, it's like, oh, everyone learns how to make this dish. You never change it. It's you came in 5 years ago and you came in tonight. It's exactly the same. I always struggle with places like that, because it's like, all right, well, if you do something 100 times and you do it exactly the same 100 times, that means that's got to be the most rock solid thing in the world. Yeah. But that's not always the case. Everything can always be improved. Yeah. You know, whether you're cutting something smaller or bigger, maybe you're storing it differently. You could change anything just by tweaking anything along the way. And I've always looked at food as like, well, if I did it like that once, that worked. But like, all right, well, how would we tweak it a little bit this way? So like when I come up with new dishes, it's more, oh, well, since I've been playing around with these other things, I now can bring them together and create this one new dish. Yeah. But it's because I've did 10 other ones first. And that's how I try it out. Because it's, you know, because if you're coming into, you know, the kitchen studio for a dinner party, I don't want that to be my experimentation. Right. Yeah, I get that. At that point. And I think that's what I've been struggling the most since I've been doing this is when it's people's first dinners, I feel like I have to come out with some like solid, not too aggressive, not too like, out of the ballpark dishes just to give you an idea of like what I can bring to the table.
Right.
And then kind of based off, if you start coming back, it's like, oh, you guys really like that. Okay, I can go down that path. Oh, you guys,
cool.
I didn't really get a lot of feedback on the halibut dish. So maybe they're not, maybe I'll switch up the fish and see if I can get a different reaction.
Yeah.
So like I would say I don't like dream up a plate and then go to create it. Like I kind of, it's like a flowing river of dinner parties and menus. And it's like, all right, well, if I want to play with this ingredient, I got to sprinkle it on into as many menus as I can, because I'm not cooking, I don't do a dinner party every day.
Right.
So it's like I have to like pick and choose, when I experiment, but at the same time apply it in a way that I know, even though it's an experiment, it's probably going to be pretty good still.
Yeah. How do you get feedback from people? I mean, I know we all loved it. Do you ever like sit down with people and like, tell me, like, what did you like? What don't you like? That type of thing?
Yes. Sometimes it is like pulling teeth, because there's like,
they don't want to like offend you.
Because it's either like,
or they just really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes you get the stereotypical like, oh my God, that was amazing. And it's like, oh, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. But like, well, what was amazing about it?
Yeah.
And sometimes people it sounds like critique, but then like the fact that you are able to break down what you liked and didn't like about a plate, but still overall enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like being a cook. Like,
right.
I don't personally, I'm not a big like seafood lover. Mm-hmm. I have a deep respect for it. I think because it doesn't naturally get me excited to eat it, I have to like become excited and force myself to try things, because it's like, well, people really like, this. I have to like see why people like it, and hopefully cook it at a level that people will like it. But if I only cooked what I wanted, I would never, I would never touch it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you you strike me as and I mean this actually in a very positive way. Like you have like this like maniacal sense of curiosity, where like you're just constantly trying to make things better and think of new things. How do you manage that? Like, does your brain just go nonstop all the time?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I feel you. Like I'm the same way, obviously in a very different way or about something very different, but it's like, it's a blessing and a curse.
Like I've undiagnosed ADHD for sure.
For sure. Agreed.
For sure.
Same with me. Yeah.
And I say like what's going on in my head is kind of like when you go to like a carnival as a kid or something, and there's just a million things going on, but everyone's having a great time. Everyone's having a great. Maybe there's someone crying in a corner somewhere, but we can ignore that for a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
But like I think that's what kind of keeps the drive going, because I can't do the same thing every single day and be happy with that.
Right.
I like a little bit of backstory on what I did. I was in kitchens for over a decade, and then I removed myself from private restaurants and I went to work for Wegmans, thinking I want an easy job. I wanted something predictable, a 401k matching and health insurance that I didn't have to like beg and plead for. And so I thought, going into it, oh, let's do that. But then once you do a job where it's literally the same thing every day into a standard that you're not allowed to change, mm-hmm. because someone somewhere wrote this down, and as a leader you have to show 40 people how to do this, so you can't change it because you're gonna like write notes on the laminated sheet.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where like I put myself, I call it like almost like it was a penance, where it was like I put myself in my absolute worst case scenario to justify what I was doing beforehand. And I like left like a bat out of hell screaming and started my own business essentially as like a rebellion of that. It's like, oh, so working for someone was nice, but it wasn't what I wanted. So let's see what a safe job felt like. And I was like, oh, well, that's even worse.
Yeah.
So then starting your own business, you kind of like, oh, now I know how a multi-billion-dollar corporation manages food. I also know how a $2 million a year business runs their food. So that's just kind of seeing, meet in the middle and what worked on each level. And, the one thing I'll say about like Wegmans is like cleanliness and organization that really does. I mean, everyone always says a clean kitchen's, a good kitchen, but like when you actually see what a clean production kitchen looks like, you're embarrassed about all other kitchens you've ever worked in.
Yeah.
And I brought that with me because it's like, all right, well, if I can't walk into your kitchen and you show me the dirtiest thing and me not being grossed out, like that's a great kitchen.
Yeah.
But if I walk in and I can spot the grossest thing and then be like, okay, that just means like that passion is gone then.
Yeah.
Because like I want to invite people in and eat, but at the same time, being a chef is also being a dishwasher.
Right.
Like I don't have a dishwasher. I don't have a physical or like a person or a machine. So like you do everything, and when you kind of like bring everything into that, so it's like, yeah, I cooked your food, but at the same time, I'm the one that made sure your plate was clean. I made sure all the pots and pans are nice and shiny, so as I'm cooking, it looks like, oh, that's a nice, it's a nice pot. It doesn't have stains all over the side or something crusty from the dinner before. And like all of that, those little things kind of come into like, oh, it's like, this guy's just making us food tonight. Like this is literally all he's been working on all day for 10 people.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, like, if you go to other restaurants and you say, oh, you served 10 people tonight, you'd be laughed at.
Right.
But to me, that's like, yeah, I served 10 people tonight. And
yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you were at Wegmans, so it sounds like a similar situation that a lot of entrepreneurs go through. Like I could square up a lot with my kind of journey to where I am now in comparison to what you're talking about. But was there a moment there where you were like, okay, like enough is enough. I just have to do this. Was there like a breaking point? Like what, or was it just kind of build when you were there? Because I think it's a good lesson for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people stuck in like that trap where they know whatever it is they're doing is not right for them, whatever that is, but they're just terrified to make the leap and follow their passion and just like, kind of rip the Band-Aid off. Like how did you ultimately be like, okay, I'm doing this? And like, did you have any apprehension or fear? Like, how did that work?
Well, I mean, if you go into business and you're not scared, then
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, yeah, I was terrified.
Definitely the scariest thing I've ever personally done, because you're banking on yourself.
Yeah.
But I think what made it easy on me was coming up in restaurants. I was always the guy that, had a little bit of like natural talent and eagerness to just do. And, I was willing to work as many hours as possible. But like ultimately I ended up being the guy at every restaurant I was at.
Yeah.
And once you kind of, after a decade or so, realize like, oh, the common denominator everywhere I've been has been me. Oh, okay. So like going into it for yourself, oh, well, I got me. So that's not the worst thing to start off with. And then when I first actually started my business, it started off as beard care. Like that was like my first taste of like self, like a business that you created yourself, and it was a little bit of a passion project. But like starting that at Wegmans specifically was very much intentional, because Wegmans is very, like I said, they're very food safety focused. Yeah. And one of the things that I kept like butting my head against was like their beard net policy.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I found any and all out I could possibly get to not wear this freaking thing. And because one of the main things was it was ruining my beard. So I started like making my own beard care products, and I noticed my beard was being damaged by wearing masks. And then COVID happened, and then like everything got tossed up and weird. But then people's emotions became part of it.
Yep. So
when you're wearing a mask and being asked to do things, it was okay to speak out about how it made you feel. And during COVID, it's like my breaking point essentially of like, I just gotta do my own thing, because clearly, the situation I'm in is like, I can't make a case to you that this is part of me, and by covering myself up all the time, I just look like a weirdo and not a guy with a beard. And I ended up leaving Wegmans because of my beard, essentially, because I made my own like COVID mask to cover my beard, so I didn't have to wear one of those like medical masks.
Yeah.
And since I made my own, there was like this whole corporate thing with like, oh, it has to be an approved whatchamacallit. I'm like, yeah, but all right, so the people out there are wearing these, so it's approved for that. So I just took that and put it into the kitchen. So what's the difference between the thing. Oh, well, it's in the kitchen. It's like, all right, well, it's the same material.
Yeah.
Who cares? And I'm breathing on it. So you can't say the material's unsafe. But it's like, well, that's just the rules. And I'm like, well, those rules we'll change them. Like, it's okay to change a rule if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I kept getting backed into a corner to the point where I created, because I am an ordained minister through the Universal Life Church.
So am I. I've married quite a few people.
I have 4 under my belt right now.
That's awesome.
And actually 3 out of those 4 weddings, either one or at least one or both were past or current Wegmans employees at that time.
No kidding.
So I went into this. I was fired up because it was like it got to the point where I had to have a talk with a district manager, the store manager, the head of HR. Like everyone came down because I was being adamant. I'm like, I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
And unless you come and take this off of my face, I'm wearing this. So like it all boiled down, and they they threw me the ringer and like essentially listed every little thing that I was doing wrong on their tally sheet essentially. And I was like, well, just so you know, I do have a registered LLC of Redbeard's Delight. I make my own beard care products and blah, 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 blah. So this is a relative trademark of mine. And then I am also an ordained minister of this, but I am a practicing, I call it the Church of Redbeard. And under the Church of Redbeard, I did 4 weddings, and I listed off the names, and I was like, this person are Wegmans employees or still are. And I went through this whole thing, essentially wrapping it up as like, not only is this a personal thing of mine, but it's a business and it's a religious and everything. And like literally the HR just stood up and was like, we're not touching this.
Yeah.
Find him a mask he can wear.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop this now.
Yeah, we're good.
And after that meeting, I then handed the other piece of paper, which was, I'm quitting.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like, unfortunately, my story is not as good as that, but it's like, that is like that common story, right? Like and I think sometimes it's people like who don't even know they want to start their own business, but they get within like this corporate environment and they're banging their head against the wall over here, dealing with HR or whoever. And then it's just like, I'm going to do this on my own. And there's something beautiful about when you're pushed to that edge and you have a little bit of that ignorance, like, because it's fueled by just like I don't give a shit about this anymore. I'm just going to do this.
Certain bravado.
Yeah, there you go. Then you get into it and you're like, oh man, this is scary. Like, I didn't really think this through, but it's too late. And I think you'd agree, like, you learn how much you're really capable of when you're relying on yourself. And then it just goes from there. I mean, even if we all have self-doubt, like it creeps in. I mean, I'm sure I get it to this day at times, right? Like, oh man, like it gets better. But did you have any doubt at all about like what you were about to do? Like how did that process go? Because even though you'd studied business, now it's like, hey, I'm doing this. Like how did I guess like Kitchen Studio become like what it is now?
Well, during COVID, actually, the demand for like private cooking experiences like went through the roof.
That makes sense.
So I my first taste of like uniquely COVID experiences, I guess, of like applying food to it was I was doing like virtual cooking classes. Oh. There was this woman in Texas who owns a company called Life at the Table, and it's this lovely middle-aged woman with grandkids, and she's like the most picturesque woman that you want making a nice home-cooked meal. And her whole thing was like, I'm going to teach you how to make these very basic dishes, but completely from scratch and whatnot. And corporations and law firms and everything would like hire her to do these cooking demos. And when I left Wegmans, I was like kind of like looking for any little thing I could like do, because I like, oh yeah, I had a business. I was like trying to do private dinner parties, but it's kind of like a slow build. So I was like, oh, what else could I do? And like working with that showed me that like creating an experience really is just on what you create. Mm-hmm. So if you go to a restaurant, part of that experience is the welcoming. You maybe get some drinks, you get sat down. It's all if it feels like you've been ignored, the experience is already at a hindrance. So like every little point, there's like a way of improving. But ultimately, it's the human interaction. So like a good server is a good server, not because you got your food. Ideally, that's a bare minimum requirement of a server's job. But a good server is a good server because they made you feel welcome. And
Yeah, 100%.
they discuss the menu with you because the chef's not there. But like imagine if you could talk to the chef and the chef could describe what the plate is and where it came from and how it was made. And it wasn't just some recited menu script. It was the person actually cooking it, like describing it. So it was like, oh, showing people how to cook is nice, but then the thing that they really liked most was being told how it was made and being shown. And every time that I would do like an online demo, people were like, oh yeah, I would do this again, but I would rather watch you do it. And it's like, oh, okay. So it was at that point, it was like, oh, so if I can get random groups of people to come in and just want to watch me cook, I could do that in person and not have to worry about if my Wi-Fi gives out halfway through or something like that.
Yeah.
So like that was like the start of like an experience-based thing. Because like unfortunately, I don't view myself like there's a lot of well-known chefs in the area, and like literally right down the street.
Yeah.
My boy Darian.
Yeah.
Like he is the embodiment of a celebrity chef, so to speak. But I don't view myself on a level that he is. Like that's someone who wants to be noticed, someone that puts themselves out there like that. But I like to think I'm like that humble behind the scenes guy, like, hey, how's it going? You enjoying that? That's nice. Okay. So my approach to creating that environment is still very much kind of a withdrawn approach to where I'm not in your face, trying to be the center of attention. I'm letting the food do that. And since the food's good, I become center of attention because where'd the food come from?
Interesting.
From that guy over there.
Yeah, I picked up on that actually. When we were there, we noticed like you're there, you're cooking at first, you're quiet, and you have your team there who's amazing. They come out and like we're sitting down getting ready, food starts to come out, and then you'll come out and like explain like in detail like the dish, this is where I got this stuff from, this is like how I put this together, and everyone's like very like listening to you, like really interested, and then you like disappear back behind or back into the kitchen where obviously we can see you. But I noticed too, that's funny you say that, because like everyone now we're like looking at you, we're like, oh man, what's he doing back there, what's he making,
what's he working on next?
Yeah, you're right, because that's a really good point, because at a lot of other and it's whatever, teach their own, at like the private chef experiences, the chef is a lot more like there with you, like sitting down, telling their story, and like it is what it is. It's a different experience, right? But that's a great point. Like, and you just kind of like that's just your personality. It seems like. Well,
we're in like the age of the food influencer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rogue food influence in Buffalo, and we mentioned another influencer earlier. But like when you meet someone who actively is trying to be that persona, like, high energy, not that anything's wrong with it, but it is kind of like a play, like you're taking on a character and you're doing something most people would kind of cringe at, like talking to yourself in a camera, these imaginary people, like that's something that I struggle with to this day. Like I say I'm an accidental influencer of sorts, because it's like I cook food and post it every once in a while. And because I do cook regularly, more and more people come to my page. Like my whole business is sustained on people finding us on Instagram or, Googling Buffalo private chef and something popping up on the internet. But I don't actively make content to sell my food. I happen to just take a picture or two or a small video as I'm preparing something, and then I posted it.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people come to me, it's like more of an authentic experience, because it's not, I didn't have to hoodwink you into thinking I'm good. It's just somehow you found out about something I did and it intrigued you just enough to make you curious. And then you looked and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's okay. He's got something. And that's why, like when I said, when people come to us for the first time, I don't try to do the most like extravagant experimental menu, because what if I missed the mark on the first time you ever come,
right? And
you've built up this experience in your head. I know we're not cheap, but we're also not the most expensive dining option in the world by any means. But like for me, like if I was to go out and pay the prices that I charge, I would expect a certain level of service.
Right.
And I feel like everything we do is at a level that I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
So if I'm experimenting, that means I don't know. It could go, it could be good. It could be successful, but it's still an experiment. So for dinner parties, we've been like trying to refine everything we do every single time we do something. If we do it again another time, I change something, some component, seasonally, or, oh, I didn't really like the way that came out. I'm going to do that differently. But like at its core, it's still fundamentally the same dish.
Right.
But I tweak it as I go. And that's how like I have fun with dishes. But at the same time, like I'm not saying, oh, this is going to be the best blank you're ever going to have. It's like, I just hope it's the best one you're going to have tonight.
Hopefully.
As long as we hit that, we're good.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, the social media stuff it's so crazy these days. Like, I feel you, like, in the sense that, like, I always tell people, like, I think this is a little bit different. Like, maybe for me anyways, like, the job I think about that would, like, I would probably hate the most, like, being a politician. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but like having to like be on all the time and like be that persona.
There's no casual day.
Like never. Like you always have to be on and like be who you think they want you to be at all times. And it's interesting because, I mean, some people really are that, but then there's such like, I think now people are understanding more and more like the value and authenticity, like how important that is in this day and age when there's so much just crap out there. Let me ask you this. So like, obviously, you go by Chef Redbeard. I think I know why. Would you, as you continue to grow, do you think you'd shy away if like people were like, or organizations were coming to you with some of these like influencer ideas that like you see like other celebrity chefs either here or in other places doing, like brand deals, stuff like that? Is that stuff that you would shy away from, or would you just maybe be more selective about what you did?
I guess it'd be, it's easy for me to say, oh, I wouldn't go out and sell myself, but it's like, I've never been asked. So like, I don't know, but I would say, like as a business owner, I understand like how awesome it is to, if someone, even if something as simple as my beard care product, having someone with a nice beard wearing it, that's not me, is just as good as anything else in the world. But like with selling yourself as an influencer or a spokesperson for something, I feel like that's something that I'm trying to work on my own identity as myself.
Right. Not
like, oh, he was the guy from that. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, he's the guy that sells that. Mm-hmm. I like it as like, oh, what does he do? Oh, well, he works for himself. Oh, okay. Like, what does he do within that? And then like, that's how people find out. But if I'm like the guy that, is doing a commercial, like, I feel like for me, for what I want to do ideally until the day I die is what I'm doing now,
right,
which is cooking small dinner parties, small little events, and executing them at a level that I know for a fact I can replicate and do, not necessarily always by myself. In an ideal world, I have a much bigger staff, but I think what makes me unique is that everything we do, I'm attached to it.
Right.
So I know as a business owner, I can't scale that. So what I'm trying to do now is like really consolidate what the value is in a small little box. Yeah. And then if I can then template that, that's going to be another 10 years from now. So unfortunately, like it's easy to get distracted on, like how can I make something better like all the time? But it's like, well, consistency is honestly the best thing for a restaurant. If you go somewhere and it's a different menu every single time, that's kind of a detraction because it's like, oh, well, I really like that one thing, but now it won't be there again.
Yeah.
So like for us, I have to create an experience that is different for everyone because, we sat down and I heard what your favorite foods are and I want to make my versions of that. But if I just copied and pasted the same menu on 4 dinner parties, I would feel like a fraud.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like there is like, it's funny too. Like we do this all the time. Like we go through this like now, like end of year stuff and we're like, you're always trying to get better, right? And sometimes you just have to realize that this part of the bigger thing you're doing is actually working really well and you don't need to change that. Or it's like a slight tweak and you don't need to like totally overhaul something. And sometimes that's like, it's it's a harder pill to swallow because like, especially when you're brand new, you're overhauling everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to a point where like I hear you talk about like, and I get it, like taking so much pride in like washing the dishes and doing and overseeing or being responsible essentially for every aspect of like the whole experience of the whole production. And like, do you ever think about what it's going to be like to let go of even like the little things? I think that's like such a trust thing, like to like allow somebody to do that thing for you that maybe normal people would think is small, but you know is so important.
Well, since I know I'm not like a special butterfly, so to speak, like I know, like I've met some cooks that have humbled me, just like flat out raw talent. Like some people just have just skill that is you can't teach. It's just something that like the way that their brain operates and that they can multitask and hand dexterity and hand-eye coordination. Like there's just so many random like an athlete, a professional athlete plays the same sport that someone else can do on a regular Sunday, but when you see them do it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I'm still at that point where like I'm trying to get to a point where I can view myself as that good.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like since I see all the failures along with it, going and doing dinner parties is like my way of like being validated.
Mm-hmm.
And like working with small groups of people and doing dinner parties for me is the only way I can better myself because I'm making a hard problem and I'm putting myself as the only person that can fix it. But ideally, there's another me out there that I could, bring into the fold. And, there are a lot of chefs that like, if they ask today, oh, hey, can I come like work with you in the kitchen and, let's figure it out. Like, I just want to come work with you. There's like 5 people that I would be like, yes, right now. Oh my God, this would be amazing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's people that once you kind of bring in, it's like, oh, well, unfortunately, if I have you do this, it's what am I selling to this person? Because I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I have to get to a certain point where we're just big enough to where if I'm not the one doing it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, cost is a huge thing. So
yeah,
having more and more staff kind of like, it's the most expensive thing I've ever done is own a business.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And in a restaurant, it's always cut. Do as much as you can yourself. So I feel like that's what has got me to this point.
Yeah.
So like when I am finally able to hire another cook in my head, that means I made it.
Yeah,
like a full-time actual like always gonna be there.
Yeah.
Like that's how Chef Redbeard finally hit his stride is when there's an actual person there.
Yeah. There's something beautiful about that. Like I talk about this all the time. Like even at our firm, it's like when you first start and then you evolve and you get bigger. And there's something amazing when like all these people you trust who trust you are just like doing the things exactly the way you want them to, and then sometimes even better than you could do them, like certain things, and it just like the thing just starts becoming like a lot bigger than you. But the one thing I'll say is I think there is something valuable in no matter how much perceived or real success you have, that you always have that mentality of like, I can be better. Like I'm not like satisfied with where I'm at. Now I think too, you need to like pair that with, giving yourself like credit. Like look at where you were, look at where you've gone. You're going to keep climbing, but you should be proud of yourself. Right. But there is something about, cause I think it's like, even like the best athletes, like you hear them talk and they're like their hardest critics. Like they're so hard on themselves. They're constantly trying to get better. Like people who you wouldn't think, and I've interviewed professional athletes and like they're talking about like their maniacal sense of like getting better every day. They're out there shooting pucks like when everyone else is off the ice, or practicing drills when everyone else is off the field. And like they're so hard on themselves. But I think you got to have to kind of like pair it with like a sense of like appreciation for yourself, because it's tough. It's tough. It never ends.
Well, like, I know eventually I'll have to, because I don't want people to think it's because I'm going to do it the best.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not necessarily that, but it's more the experience that I'm trying to curate is only kind of interesting because I'm the one that made it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So like the more people I bring on, you know, like from a customer perspective, when they see a big staff, it's like, oh, there's a nice production. I feel special. But like for some reason in my head, when I see, you know, a bigger staff, it's like, oh, well, now you're not getting as personalized of a service. Because when you sit down, Kelly will come and, you know, ask your name, you know, make chit chat. And if you have a to-go box, your name will be written on it and whatnot. But it's like those little touches are hard to instill on, you know, other people. So it's like, if I could get people to come in that are willing and able, that could work at a level at which I don't have to necessarily like teach you to get to that point, that would be ideal. But since I don't want to be a bad boss.
Right. Yeah, no.
So like on me, it's like, well, I wouldn't want to bring someone in and sell them hopes and dreams. And then a month or two later, once the busy season's done and we're only doing a dinner party a week and I have no hours for you, I feel terrible.
Yeah, I get that. That's yeah, for sure. Like you end up having this really strong sense of accountability towards the people who work with you. And you don't want to put people in that spot. You mentioned like maybe some chefs that you kind of maybe like look up to. Like, are there certain people out there like in the world that you're like, oh man, I wish I like could sit down with him or her and just like learn from them in person, watch what they're doing like in person? Like, who are like the people like you look up to?
Well, I guess there's like certain chefs that, you know, when you work in kitchens, like skill is one thing and knowledge is another. And some people have one but not the other.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like chefs that I would really love to meet and get to know are more vibe based, I guess.
I like that.
Because kitchens, it's like you could have the most technically skilled person that's the most boring individual.
Yeah.
So if you have to work an 8-hour line cook shift with them, it's like pulling teeth. But you know everything's going to be nice and smooth and everything's going to look beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you have other people that know everything, but they can't cook an egg.
Yeah.
But they're super funny. So it's like you kind of like ebb and flow of like, oh, well, I like this about that person. But I would say in terms of like people that I would love to just get to know and like pick apart their brains. I mean the stereotypical answers are like, you know, Thomas Keller and Marco Pierre White and stuff like that. But I think they're at such a level that they're no longer like normal humans. Yeah. Like they've been puffed up so much that like I feel like having a general conversation as a stranger will never happen.
Yeah.
But like just your average cook out in the world, like I don't know, I guess I don't really like the idea of like a celebrity chef, so to speak. But I mean, Maddie, I'd love to hang out with Maddie.
Dude,
like,
this has been going on. Maddie Matheson's been in my brain like since I asked the question. Like second I asked, I was like, I wonder, because he seems like he'd be fun to hang out with.
Because like there's certain cooks who was like, I would love to learn from you, but I know I wouldn't want to work with you. Yeah. And there's other people that's like, I just want to hang out with them, and by hanging out with you, I'd probably learn a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, because most of the friends I have in my life right now are, you know, work acquaintances that have kind of branched off and have added to it, but my core group of like good friends are all cooks. Yeah. And they happen to be the cooks that like you could shoot the shit with on the line and stuff like that. And I've learned more from like people like my buddy Jer, who, you know, he's a CIA graduate and he's worked in Michelin starred restaurants and he's worked under really well-known chefs, but at the same time, he didn't know those guys. Yeah. Like, he didn't hang out with them on the weekends. So it's like on a resume, it sounds really nice to say that you worked in these spots, but then when you actually like meet someone who's like a chef mentor and you only realize it after the fact, we're like, oh man, I've been asking this guy cooking questions for the last 10 years and like I've been getting the answers and I'm like, oh, what is this? Like people like him have been like my celebrity chefs.
That's awesome.
Because it's like the least likely person. Like if you met this guy, you wouldn't think that he's got all this, you know, the skill hidden under there, but then you talk to him and he's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so like those are my favorite type of chefs where it's like they're knowledgeable, they have the skills and they have the vibe, but it's very hard to find the cooks with all of them.
Yeah. You got to just like hang out in the parking lot of Rizzo's House of Parm and just wait for him to walk in.
Wait for someone to come
this dude
out.
with a red beard's been outside for 2 weeks.
Because I feel like Maddie's one of those people where like his personality seems chaotic and crazy, but at the same time, like that's just your average line cook. Yeah, you know, he's definitely amplified, but I think that's why he's so approachable and people like him so much because like people in the community are like, oh yeah, that guy, like I trust the guy with knuckle tattoos to cook this elaborate fancy meal more than the guy with the prim cut jacket with tweezers tucked in, and he's worried about cutting his measuring tape just so it looks great. And it's like, listen, just get a tape cutter. Yeah. If it has to be a straight line, if the edges get to you, you're thinking too hard about your stickers.
Yeah. It's relatability, right? I mean, people, I think, again, like more and more in this day and age, they want to be around or support people that they can relate to in some sense, right? And it's very, very hard to relate, as incredible as they are, you know, with a Thomas Keller or an Eric Ripert, or like it's just like, how can you even, I'm sure they're nice guys, like but it's like, how do you even like relate to those people?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And since my background in cooking is so different, like in that community, it's like I've never even eaten at a Michelin starred restaurant. Never even eaten at one. And I've had a lot of great meals. Yeah. But then you speak to other people and it's like they can't talk fast enough about the meal they had at this one spot because it was a Michelin starred restaurant. And it's like, so you're going for the acclaim of going there. Did you enjoy the meal, or did you spend a certain threshold at a spot that like you're not allowed to dislike it because you just wasted money? Yeah. Yeah. Whereas like for people like me, the cooks that I like are, if they put a plate of food in front of you, not only is it beautiful, but it's a full plate. And it's a full plate full of food that like you're excited to eat. Like I love tasting menus, and we do call our menus, you know, tasting menu-esque because we go multiple courses. But I don't want you to have a bite of something. Like if you came in and I cooked for you, like making a bite of something looks beautiful and it's poetic and it's like, ooh, it's subtle flavors, but at the same time, it's like you're here to eat. Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of the chefs that get the acclaim abroad are like they're creating the teams of people to then create those little tiny dots with like the single little forage leaf here and a little sprig of flower here. And it's like, well, I just can't bring myself to cook like that for some reason.
Dude, I get it. Like, look, like I've been to Michelin star restaurants, and don't get me wrong, you know, I haven't enjoyed all of them. I mean, and some have been better than others. And I think the closest one to us is that one Pearl Morissette in Canada. Canada.
I want to try that out.
It's actually good. It is, and it's like a cool vibe. It doesn't feel like too, you know, like Michelin starry, if that makes sense. But I don't know. There's some sort of like anxiety around being in those places. Like, behave this way.
You don't want to mess up.
Behave. Do not mess up.
It's like you're the customer, but for some reason you're like worried about getting scuffs on the carpet or something.
They're watching you, and if you behave poorly, they're gonna be like, "Oh, look at this guy.
He's using the wrong fork."
He clearly hasn't been here before. Yeah. Did someone give him a gift certificate?
And that's like, as a professional cook, like I'm always worried that like people at that level will view me as a fraud. And it's like, oh, well, you're not even trying hard enough to go for these accolades. And it's like, well, if that's all you're going for, like it's almost like you're missing the plot. Right. Like I'm cooking food to enjoy the act of cooking food. Yeah. And if people like it enough to where my business can be sustained and I have a little extra cash in my pocket, then that's the American dream. Yeah, for sure. But I'm not going to kill myself to try and create a menu you've never seen before with flavors you've never heard of, to create a one-of-a-kind experience that everyone in that restaurant's going to have, but it's so sterile and like unwarm and like just like stuffy, like all those things. Whenever I see certain services, it's like everything that went into that, all the effort, all the material, all the cost or whatever goes into the most sterile plate you can imagine. It's beautiful, but it's emotionless.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. So obviously you're here in Buffalo, but you're not from Buffalo originally. What is it about Buffalo? Why did you choose to put the studio on Main Street downtown? Like, what are your thoughts on, what's going on with restaurants in the city right now? Just like, what's like the vibe right now?
Well, I chose Buffalo mainly because I went to NU for hospitality and business management. And after I graduated, I kind of just didn't leave the area. Yeah. So like that's kind of how I got to Buffalo. But I think I fell in love with like the downtown aspect of Buffalo. I worked it was a restaurant called Butterwood Sweet and Savory. And it was in the Lafayette building downtown. And that was like my first introduction of a restaurant in downtown Buffalo. And it was the Lafayette Hotel is this awesome historic hotel. It was built by the first female architect to build a building in Buffalo or something like that. So there was like a lot of random little lore. There was a really nice restaurant above us. So it was like it just felt like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're in a cool old building that's got this cool backstory. There's other restaurants operating like literally in the same building as us.
Yeah.
You go outside and there's city streets. Like I grew up in the country, so like to me Buffalo was like, ooh, this is a cool little city. But then when you realize how big it is and how empty it actually is, like there's so many just empty spots. These beautiful grand buildings that have so much potential, but then they're empty.
Yeah.
And so like me deciding to go downtown, specifically in that building, I was going to a barber, Brian, who's the husband of a server I used to work with, another restaurant connection. And I was like sitting in his chair, just looking around, and the building, it has a block long atrium, but it's a 3-story high. It's beautiful, but the whole building was empty.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what the hell is going on in here? And I first put my beard oil business right in the center of that building because it was super cheap rent.
Redbeard's Delight, right?
Yep. And then when it came time to like, all right, I need a kitchen spot. And it's like, all right, well, what's one of the biggest allures of dining is usually location. And no one wants to, go into a sketchy spot to go into for a nice fancy dinner, so to speak. So I was like, all right, well, downtown, like Main Street has a nice little ring to it. For people in Buffalo, downtown Buffalo doesn't seem too nice, but if you're out of Buffalo, downtown Main Street sounds nice. So like I would definitely say specifically the Main Street aspect of the building was very intentional of like just sounding being in a spot that's kind of sells itself. And then specifically that building, since it was empty, I felt like it was a hole that I could fill with a little light.
Yeah, I like that.
And because like everything in restaurants is, it's experience based, but if it's not a lively environment, it's sterile. Mm-hmm. And I felt like in a very small space, we could make enough happen in a small spot to make it feel like a lot more was happening.
Right. Yeah.
And when you're in a small spot, people are more impressed with what you're able to do because they're like, oh, well, that's no bigger than the kitchen I have at my house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the same fridge I have at my house. What the heck? So it's like little things like that where it's like, since we are in such a niche, small location that is at the same time also big and grandeur because there's this amazing atrium that we can set a dining room table in. That like that's something I couldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah, and you no doubt, man. Like the spot's amazing. I think it's like the perfect size, especially for what you're doing right now. Like you make everybody feel really special, and it feels like you're right. It feels like a lot's going around you, but you have this private space and like this like very personal like experience, which is amazing. So 5 years from now, where would you hope to be? What are you doing? Whether it's with, cooking with Redbeard's Delight, like where do you hope to be?
I would say in an ideal world, if everything goes according to plan, ideally we'd have a kitchen build out on the other side of where we're currently at. Mm-hmm. It now just is like essentially our storage and extra dining room if we have to open it up. But I want to build a kitchen in there and essentially set up a template to where in like 10 years, would be able to like have a kitchen studio in some major cities.
Oh, cool.
And it's like if I can build the template and prove, like a small group of people can to do the things that I'm doing long enough, and I can, actually consolidate recipes and templates and build a strategy to where then I can sell essentially. Like that's the only way that in my head that I can scale my business is I still want to be doing it, but if I could like bring it into other cities, it'd be cool to be like, oh, okay, well, no, you can come to the kitchen studio of, Boston or,
Yeah.
New York or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, you want Chef Redbeard. Okay, well, he can come down and he can be the chef that night.
That's cool.
Or we have the resident chef.
Yeah.
And so in my head, that'd be a way of me being able to go into other cities and other markets and learning, because I feel like every city has its own vibe. And Buffalo is very much meat and potato.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to kind of go into another city where there is access to fresh fish.
Yeah.
Or, fresh this or that we don't have in Buffalo. 'Cause
Right.
we're kind of in a weird nook.
Yeah, yeah.
Where there's a few months out of the year where it's like, oh my God, the bounty's amazing. Everything's perfect. And then a month later, it's 30 degrees and icy. And people are like, oh, I need a seasonal menu in January. And it's like, well, squash.
Yeah.
That's all that's left.
Yeah.
That's all that's left.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, within 5 years, maybe, I'm at that point where we can start humoring that conversation.
Yeah.
But within 5 years, I want it to be dialed in. Because I think right now we're trying to make it work, but it comes at the cost of the consistency is key, but it also comes at the cost of I can't do much else.
Right.
Because this is the baby.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't work, then that means I have to start over entirely. So there's always ideas and visions, but at the same time, it's I need to get this done.
Yeah.
And since it is, I call it's a bootstrap business. I don't have an investor. To start off, I maxed out a couple credit cards and had to pay them off low and slow, so to speak. But now we're pretty much, we don't have any major debts. We're kind of right where we need to be to where in the next 5 years we could, build up to the point where we could actually expand. But I guess right now it's more tampering that just keep doing what you're doing and doing it well. And eventually, we can expand. But right now it's I don't even have the mental capacity to think of more.
Yeah, I get that. It's it all comes in time. And I think, when your head and your heart's in the right way and you're in the right place and you're doing things the right way, things just tend to happen the way they're supposed to, for sure. All right. So last question for you today. If you could cook for one person and then sit down with this person, dead or alive, and have whatever, a conversation, a meal, a drink, whatever with them, who would it be and why?
Oof, that's a rough one. I feel like the 18-year-old line cook in me wants to say Anthony Bourdain now since he's dead. But
that would be an awesome conversation for sure.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to be a sap and say, because I guess a little, backstory. I don't my family growing up, wasn't a good situation. And my father passed away several years ago, but we were very much estranged. I had removed myself, and I can't think of a time that I ever cooked that man a meal, so to speak. So I would say I'd be sappy, and now that I'm at a point where it's not just I can make someone a meal, but it's that's someone I've never actually made a meal or actually I think I was 18 the last time I actually spoke to him.
Yeah.
Before he died. So it's one of those things where I guess if I could go back and take something that has molded me as a human being, as a man, so to speak, I would probably take the time to try and patch up some stuff and take something that I love and do that. I would say that would be the most beneficial dinner I could cook.
Yeah, I love that answer. All right, so if people want to find you, if they want to follow along, where do they find you?
Well, online's pretty easy to find me. If you Google, Chef Redbeard Buffalo or Private Chef Buffalo, it definitely pops up. Which I'm very fortunate enough that enough people have put information on me out there.
Yeah.
But also, with our website and Instagram. But Instagram, Chef Redbeard, is it's my personal account, but I feel like it pretty much encapsulates who I am as a person. I'm a goofy stoner guy that enjoys beer and cooking food. And back in the day, you used to had to hide certain things, but now it's I can be a proud stoner cook because it's I can cook a 200 a person plate meal. But I can also, sprinkle a little something magic on there if you want.
I love it.
And it's one of those things where, it's not any extra. It's not anything special. But for me to like my personality that I used to have to hide in a professional sense of like, well, then no one can know I'm a I'm a degenerate. And now it's like I can go into a room or into someone's multi-million-dollar home and to cook this fantastic meal for them, and I go, wait a minute. And then next thing you know, it's like, and it's funny. Like that's my like favorite thing right now about this world is that more and more people are just embracing what makes them happy. Yeah. And cannabis has been a thing that has made so many people happy.
100%. And for those who don't know, we filmed this podcast. We are sitting in what was an old dispensary, and in particular, this was because it was a medical dispensary. This was the vault that they had to have per New York State law, and this is where all the weed was stored. Which is very
See, it all comes full circle.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It all comes full circle.
Well, look, man, this was awesome. I appreciate your time. And like for anybody who's hesitant, I mean, I'm serious. Like go check out Kitchen Studio. Check them out online. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.